Is it worth it? Before we hear about what you did, take me back to your childhood. Now, you were raised by your brother, your older brother?
Until I was approximately 7, 8 years old, I was raised by my brother.
And then one day something happened that broke up the relationship. You were about 15 years old?
I was 15 years old, and I was doing the things that most teenagers do. I started smoking, and
what were you smoking?
Cigarettes. I was just smoking cigarettes, and I came in the house, and I had the cigarettes in my pants upside down, and as I was walking down the hall, he was asking me if I'd been smoking, and cigarettes was falling down out my pants leg. And
you weren't dumb enough to lie.
No, there was no way to lie, but, you know, I was still denying it. I didn't know he was picking the cigarettes up. You know, and held them in my face.
So you did lie.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you smoking cigarettes?" You said, "No, they're falling out of your pocket."
My pants leg.
And so he threw you out of the house.
He threw me out.
Just on that?
Just on that.
Do you mean he's so against cigarette smoking? It's legal, you know. He was so against it that he would force you at 15 out into the cold?
Yeah, he put me out, you know, never gave me no reason or anything why I was to leave, you know. I had been torn apart in one childhood with my mother and father, and here I was again at 15. I was out on the streets again. I didn't know what to do, where to go.
So you must have had a pretty awful view of what life was like. What did you do?
A friend of mine let me sleep in a tent behind his house for about a week until his family knew that I was out there, because he was sneaking food out the house to me every afternoon, and finally his mother knew I was out there, and they let me come in.
So where did you go then?
I stayed with them and until I could get myself together, and then I found people that would just let me stay with them here and there.
So as a young boy, you just went from family to family, house to house.
House to house.
And then what happened?
I saw my chance to get revenge on my brother, and I joined the Ku Klux Klan.
Now, why would joining the Ku Klux Klan give you revenge on your brother?
He was running for mayor of city council seat in Macon, Georgia, and I took me and about 150 Ku Klux Klan members to Macon to march in Macon just to hope that I would make him get defeated from his council seat.
Now, that was 15 years after you were thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
You spent 15 years trying to figure out how to get revenge. You rose up in the Ku Klux Klan to a grand...
I was Grand Titan.
That's like 3 below the top there, up there?
Mm-hmm.
And you then said, "I'll bring the Ku Klux Klan to the town where my brother is running for office."
That's right.
And what did you do when you brought him into town?
He was running against a black lady that was running for council. I knew if I brought the Klan to Macon, I would cause him to lose his chance to be on the city council.
Did he lose?
Yes, ma'am, he lost. And I lost what family I had from that point on.
When did you realize that this was a wrong thing to do?
In the last 7 years of my life, that's when I realized.
Were you happy when you got the revenge at first?
Yeah, I was overjoyed, you know.
I did it. I paid them back.
Yeah,
Those people, I paid them back.
But it was still questions and was never answered. But, you know, I felt like I had satisfied the urge inside me. It was
My friend Bob for 3 years. 2 weeks ago, they broke up. And you won't believe the revenge he took on her. Dreama is afraid to go home, so she's been staying at Ruby's house ever since. Bob says he's sorry for what he's done. He wants her back. He's waiting backstage, and he'll be here in a minute. But Dreama, did you have a good relationship with him?
When we first started going together, we did. I thought he was everything I wanted in a man, and you know, everybody's got a little bit of flaws, but you know, that's great, and it was good.
And then why did you decide to break up with him?
I guess the situation, you start finding wrongs in people and stuff, and we wasn't getting along real well, and he moved out in January, but yet we still kept a relationship going.
You told him you didn't want to see him, and he decided 2 weeks ago to get revenge on you. What did he do?
Well, he stole my truck. He had keys made. I didn't know he had keys made. And I left my truck at work thinking it was safe because when I broke up with him on the Friday beforehand, I left my truck. We was at a bar, and I left my truck there and went with a friend. He never touched my truck or nothing, so I thought it was
okay.
safe. And I left it at work. And when I come back to work, it had been moved. It was still at my work, but it had been moved. And it wasn't broken into. I left my purse in my truck. And I didn't know any damages was done right then. I said, I'm going to check my purse, and I got my purse. It was soaking wet. I had $50 missing out of it, so I had to cancel all my credit cards, not knowing
Who had been there?
what happened.
What else did he do?
Well, I was working, so I had to wait till lunch. And lunch, I was like, I'll call the cops. I don't even know if he's at my house. I don't know what's up with my house. So I went to go get in my truck, and I noticed there was a puddle under my truck, and got a mechanic, said, you know, you better look at my truck before I even try to start it. And there was this big old hole under the oil pan. He says, looks like he threw a rod or outside the oil pan and tore it up.
So he hurt your truck.
Yeah, and
Then you went to your house, and what did you discover?
oh, well, me and the police walked in, and I had the water running in the kitchen sink, and it was plugged up. The water was running in the bathtub, and it was plugged up. I had my stereo CD player submerged in the bathtub. And then I walked into the living room. My furnace was up all the way. And then the front door was busted out. And then I was walking on the floor, and it was just soaked. It was drenched, it was sloshing everywhere you went. And I went into my bedroom, and the water bed was slashed and fully drained already. I don't know how long it had been that way. And then while me and the cops were looking around, I noticed that there was something on my clothes and my drawers. And then we didn't figure out what it was for a while. And then he said, it looks like transmission fluid. And I looked in my closet, and all of my clothes in my closet had it poured all over them.
Boy, that's an angry man.
Yeah.
That's a very angry man. He attempted to burn the house down, do you think?
Yeah.
What's the damage estimated at?
Well, my truck is the only damage I got because the insurance guy told me I had to write down every single piece of clothing and everything, and I haven't finished it yet because it just happened not long ago. But my truck is estimated at 37, and they're not even counting the small parts they don't know about because he bragged at work that he took my truck and was going 70 miles an hour and slammed it in reverse more than once.
How angry are you with him?
We're through. I don't want nothing to do with him anymore. I mean,
Ruby, since you're her friend, she never dreamed the revenge could almost kill her. You broke up with your boyfriend, and later that day, you went to wash your hair. What happened?
Well, when I went to wash my hair, I popped the cap, and it exploded. I mean, foam went shooting right across the tub. And I was taken at first, and then I smelt this strong odor. At first, I thought it was peroxide, and I thought, oh my God, it's bleach. So the first thing I thought of was, can you imagine if the baby was in the tub? I wouldn't have been able to get her out of the tub fast enough, Sally.
Sure.
If it would have, the way it exploded. She could have been blinded. She could have been burnt. I mean...
So your
God.
boyfriend took the shampoo bottle and put bleach in it instead. When you opened it, it exploded. Is that right?
What happened was there was about this much of the shampoo in the bottle. And I didn't realize it when I went to go wash my hair. I didn't realize, well, the bottle seems a lot heavier because you
don't
just
know,
don't
yes.
think somebody that you loved is that sick. So when I popped the cap, and then I shook it after it had exploded and everything, and I wiggled it, and I heard that, it was liquid form in there, and I smelled it. It was the bleach.
And you shook it, so that's what caused it to explode?
No. When I popped it, it caused it to explode because the chemical reaction between the shampoo and the bleach caused a gas, which then, once it popped, it exploded. And then after the foam had been all over the place...
Now, has he been arrested?
Yes.
And what is he charged with?
He's been charged with endangering the welfare of a child, which is a misdemeanor, and he was charged with combining chemicals to cause injury.
Has he pled guilty
Which is
or not
felony.
guilty?
He pled not guilty, saying that it was the children who put it in there. When my children were at school. And a 2-year-old, my 2-year-old Sally, is not going to be able to lift a gallon of bleach, pour it into a spout this big without it being all over. I mean, right?
Have you seen him at all since?
No, and I never want to see him again.
Okay. Does he show any remorse?
Sally, what he's doing is, which is what he's done in the past. Poor Bobby. She called the cops on me. It's her fault I did this. Or I didn't do it
No
at all.
remorse, it's
And
just he saw. A story made national news recently when she got revenge by suing her boss for mental abuse. Actually, it's the first case of its kind in New Jersey, where she worked at the time. Elaine was a woman going through a divorce, and she accepted a job as an insurance agent. She was pretty good. She was ranked 9 out of 50 agents. And her problem started when a new boss came into the office. What happened?
Well, basically, I was doing fine. Like you said, I was in the top 9 of the 50 agents in the company. And when this new boss came in, he just started doing everything I was doing almost impossible.
In what way?
Well, he would belittle my work. He would take me in to meetings and just make it very, very difficult.
In what way?
Well, I later found out through testimony that the meetings he was having with me were called root canal sessions.
What does root canal mean?
Well, I'm assuming it means just like you would think of a root canal, dig deep and hard until it hurts, until you reach the nerve.
Why was he doing this to other people or just to you?
He would single people out. I wasn't the only one he was doing it to, but if he had decided that you were one that he wasn't happy with, you would be singled out.
Okay. How awful was this? How did it make you feel?
It's undescribable. The sessions would be so bad that you wouldn't even know how to answer some of the questions because he would just harp and harp
Give
on.
me an example.
Well, you'd think you had done a good job. You'd have sold several applications and go in, and he would actually call your client right in front of you and say, how do you feel this person did in your home? He'd make the client almost wonder why they were allowing you in.
Right. Would he belittle you?
He would, in many, many ways. He would say you didn't have any friends in the office.
Would he threaten you?
Not literally a threat, but there was a lot of innuendos that you knew. If you read between the lines, you knew what he was saying.
Why would you not look for another job?
Well, to do the job that I had, you have to build up your clientele. And it takes about 2 years to get established. And I had decided that this was going to be my career, so I had gotten fully licensed to do this job. And you just don't walk away from that.
Okay. Something terrible happened after one of those root canal sessions. What happened?
Yes, it did. This was one of the really bad ones. After I left the office, I got in my car, and I think I was just reliving what I had been through. And I started crying. I know I was crying in my car while I was driving, which isn't the thing to do. And the next thing I knew, I was spinning around and had hit a tractor trailer head on.
What happened to you?
I had a crushed heel, a broken ankle. In fact, my foot was almost severed. I had hit the steering wheel so hard, I had heart contusions. My nose was broken. All my teeth were broken. My eyelid was just hanging. I was medevaced to a trauma center.
How long were you out of work?
About 6 months.
When you got back to work, did things get better?
Well, when I went back, I had to go back in 6 months or I would have lost my job because I hadn't been there the length of time that you could take.
First of all, I come from the philosophy that, I know we hear that revenge is sweet, but that's only short term. I do believe we have to hold to the philosophy that the best revenge is living well. Don't you agree?
Yes. Now, what about this family? We already know about Scott, and if anybody has any heart in Scott's family, they will get in touch with him. He needs them desperately. In a whole family, there's got to be one person who isn't afraid of the brother. But let's get to this triplet here.
Okay, this is beyond anything that we could ever imagine. You were clearly having a very bad temper tantrum. You don't go ahead and do what you did to anybody for hurting your feelings, for saying goodbye, I don't want you in my life anymore. And now you're on national television telling us all that you still love this woman. Let us say that she can't say no to you. Let us say that she has a moment of weakness. Let us say that she says, okay, I'll go back and be with you. So what happens if you don't like the spaghetti, if it's not cooked al dente? What are you going to do, hit her on the head with a pot? You know what? You have three things to learn. When you are angry, you frame it, claim it, and then tame it. And that doesn't mean you tame her, right?
I'm going to ask Gilda to talk to her when we return.